On June 6, 1944, landing craft from across the Allied world rushed toward the beaches of Normandy as dawn breaks over the English Channel. Concrete bunkers rattle with the sound of machine guns. Artillery shells explode in the surf. This is the largest seaborne invasion in history and one of the riskiest gambles of the war. But let's change something. On one of those landing craft, hidden under a tarp, is an M1A2 Abrams main battle tank. This shouldn't be possible for another 40 years. A 70-ton monster from the future dropped into the most dangerous fight in history. What happens when the most advanced tank on Earth crashed into Hitler's Atlantic Wall? This isn't your grandfather's Sherman. The M1A2 Abrams weighs 67 tons, twice as heavy as any tank of World War II. Its 1,500 horsepower gas turbine engine screams like a jet. On open ground, it can hit 42 miles per hour fast enough to pass a modern car. And it can bulldoze through obstacles that would stop entire divisions. Its main weapon is a 120mm smoothbore cannon. No gun in 1944 even comes close. One shell can punch through a concrete bunker like cardboard and keep going. The Abrams carries 40 of these rounds, plus 3 machine guns, a .50 caliber heavy gun and 2 7.62mm rifles. Together, they can tear apart squads of infantry in seconds. But the real game changer is its armor, Chobham composite, layers of steel, ceramics, and depleted uranium. Its frontal protection is equivalent to 800mm of solid steel. The feared German 88mm cannons could pierce 200. Against the Abrams, they may as well be throwing spitballs. And it isn't just strong, it's smart. The Abrams is equipped with thermal imaging, a laser rangefinder, and a ballistic computer that calculates shots instantly. It can hit moving targets over 2 miles away, even while charging at full speed. In 1944, it would look like alien technology. Hitler's Atlantic Wall was built to be unbreakable. Concrete bunkers, minefields, steel barriers, machine gun nests covering every inch of sand. At Omaha Beach, overlapping fields of fire were designed to turn the surf red with blood. The landing ramp slams down, bullets ping off the Abrams armor. Its turbine roars to life, a sound no soldier in 1944 has ever heard. To the Allies it feels like salvation, to the Germans, it sounds like hell unleashed. A Panzerfaust rocket slams into the tank's side and leaves only a scorch mark. The Abrams gun swivels. One 120mm shell obliterates a bunker in a single hit. What once required hours of naval bombardment is gone in an instant. German gunners panic. 88s open fire, their shells bouncing harmlessly away. Inside, the crew feels nothing more than a dull thud. The Abrams climbs the beach as if it were a gentle slope. Steel obstacles are crushed beneath its treads. Barbed wire is torn apart. Its 50 caliber machine gun shreds German positions, tracers tearing across the dawn sky. Within minutes, the Atlantic Wall is breached. Allied troops surge through the gap. What was supposed to be a massacre becomes a breakthrough. But there's a catch. The Abrams is only one tank on a 50-mile front. Normandy has 5 beaches. It cannot be everywhere. And it's running on borrowed time. Its turbine engine drinks fuel like a sailor on shore leave. In heavy combat, it has only 6 to 8 hours before it runs dry. Jet fuel doesn't exist in 1944. Neither do replacement 120mm shells or specialized machine gun rounds. Once its 40 shells are gone, it's reduced to machine guns. Once the fuel is empty, it becomes a very expensive pillbox, and the beaches are mined. A single anti-tank mine could cripple its tracks and leave it stranded, where artillery could finish the job. The Abrams' most powerful weapon isn't its gun, it's fear. To Allied troops, it is invincible, a miracle. Morale skyrockets. To the Germans, it is a nightmare. Radio chatter fills with reports of an unstoppable supertank. Veterans panic, some flee, others surrender. The feared 21st Panzer Division throws in its Panzer Ives and Tigers Germany's best. They are obsolete in an instant. The Abrams can kill them from miles away, while their shells bounce off harmlessly. With the Abrams spearheading the attack, Allied objectives fall hours ahead of schedule. Omaha and Utah beaches link up on D-Day itself. Casualties plummet. Thousands of lives are saved. The shockwave spreads beyond Normandy. German commanders pull reserves and artillery to deal with the Abrams, weakening their defenses elsewhere. The domino effect accelerates the entire campaign. But even this monster can't win the war alone. Germany still commands millions of troops and thousands of strongholds across Europe. The Abrams is a force multiplier, not a war winner. What it gives the Allies is time and momentum. Normandy breaks out faster. Paris could fall weeks earlier. The Rhine might be crossed in 1944 instead of 1945. Would the war end sooner? Maybe. Would it save lives? Absolutely. There is one final danger. What if the Germans captured it? Even wrecked, the Abrams would be a treasure trove of future technology. The Allies would have to destroy it before letting it fall into enemy hands. The Abrams would not end World War II, but it would transform D-Day. The bloodiest invasion in history would become a technological turkey shoot. Hitler's impenetrable Atlantic Wall would collapse in hours. The tank would be remembered as the miracle of Normandy, a glimpse of the future that saved thousands of lives. But technology alone doesn't win wars. Victory still requires courage, sacrifice, and determination. The Abrams would simply make sure that courage wasn't wasted on the impossible. And if you want to know what would have happened if a US destroyer fought at the Battle of Midway, make sure to subscribe. Thanks for watching. King Philip II commanded 130 Spanish warships that sailed for England in July of 1588. They had enough weapons and 30,000 soldiers to overthrow Queen Elizabeth I. The Spanish Armada was the biggest naval force at the time and was regarded as invincible, despite ultimately losing to the English. Yes, we don't need to save the English, but let's make one change for fun. The USS Seawolf, a nuclear-powered attack submarine from the 1990s with enough torpedoes to destroy a fleet, is something that shouldn't be underwater for another 400 years. Additionally, it is equipped with enough technology to make a Renaissance battle seem like a food fight. What would happen if Spain's Golden Age military might face off against the most advanced submarine ever built? Let's investigate. The 353-foot USS Seawolf costs more to build than all of Spain's armies combined. Its teardrop-shaped hull slices through the water at about 40 miles per hour, faster than most Spanish ships could go with a storm in their sails. 50 weapons, including Mark 48 rockets that can split a ship into at a distance of 20 meters, are stored in the torpedo room of the USS Seawolf. With 650 pounds of high explosive on board, each torpedo travels at 55 knots under the guidance of a silicon brain and sonar. The Spanish in 1588 would never have comprehended these two technologies. A 200-megawatt nuclear power plant, which can power a small city and never needs to be refueled, is also on board. If the weather permits, ships from Spain must replenish their supplies every few weeks, but the Seawolf can remain submerged for months. The cruise time is only limited by the quantity of beef jerky they brought. Its radar can detect a shrimp sneeze from 50 miles away using sound waves. In 1588, long-range spotting required having a guy in the crow's nest with good vision. Keep that in mind. This is cheating in a sense. The sub knows the location of every Spanish ship before they even realize there is an England to attack. The Seawolf is incredibly quiet due to its anechoic tiles, which absorb sound. It is invisible to the Spanish Armada. The unbeatable Armada, composed of 130 ships, including massive galleons like the 1,000-ton San Martin, which are armed with bronze guns, has been sent across the ocean by Philip II. The majority of the 2,500 guns on these floating castles are small anti-personnel weapons that are incapable of harming a submarine. After decades of combat, the Spanish Navy has developed a defensive crescent maneuver. The objective is to approach the enemy ships, seize them, and then deploy 19,000 combat-trained soldiers who have recently seized half of Europe. Because Spain believed that attacking England would be a good opportunity to gain experience, the Duke of Medina Sidonia, a capable manager who suffers from seasickness and has never held command of a fleet before, is in charge of this enormous wooden ship. Because Spain believed that attacking England would be a good opportunity to gain experience, the Duke of Medina Sidonia, a capable manager who suffers from seasickness and has never held command of a fleet before, is in charge of this enormous wooden ship. Still recovering from the English fire attack the previous evening, the Spanish fleet approaches Gravelines as the sun rises on August 8th. Because they are 130 times more powerful than the new English fleet, they are confident despite being dispersed and lacking anchors. They are perfectly justified in their rage. More than 100 wooden contacts smashing through the waves can be heard by the Seawolf radar from about 40 miles away. That's more noise than a kindergarten class. The sub is as silent as death and approaches them at 20 knots. The torpedo room crew loads it into Tube 1. While its onboard computer examines the sound profile of the flagship St. Martin, the Seawolf launches its first torpedo at 6 a.m., a 3,400-pound smart weapon that speeds through the water at 55 knots. The Spanish find it difficult to comprehend that death is rapidly approaching them. They really don't know what the highway speed limits are. 3 minutes later, just beneath the San Martin's bottom, the torpedo explodes. The 1,000-ton galleon actually leaps out of the water and falls back to the water into pieces, its spine broken. The 400 men and the Duke of Medina Sidonia vanish into the strait in an instant. 3 more bombs are detonated just as ships in the area are attempting to determine what happened. The Seawolf's crew is incredibly productive. They can fire 8 rounds before needing to reload. With no enemy in sight, Spanish captains watch as the bottom of their ship suddenly explodes. While some people pray, others scream scarecrows. Some of the more astute ones simply sail in the opposite direction. The largest and noisiest ships in the fleet, such as troop transports and command ships, are always targeted by the submarine. A different Spanish ship sinks every 3 minutes, and a new bomb detonates every 3 minutes. It's not even close to being a warlike battle. Within an hour, 15 sizable Spanish battleships vanish entirely from the map. Men who awoke with the intention of conquering England are now questioning their forefathers about what transpired. The surviving Spanish make every effort. Unplanned, they fire guns into the water and toss rocks at a ghost. To hit any devils that might be below, some people toss barrels of gunpowder over the side. In a panic, one captain orders his men to stab the ocean with spikes. It goes fairly well, as anticipated. The iconic crescent shape of the Armada seems to disintegrate more quickly than New Year's resolutions. Ships attempting to escape collide. The captain declares, "It's full sail north, south, or anywhere else but here." It transforms the most well-organized naval force in the world into a terrified mob. However, even time-traveling machines have their limitations. The Seawolf has 50 guns, not 130. It must decide which bombs to use next after using 30 to sink the Armada's core. As the powder stores explode and the crew pursues ammunition ships, there are breathtaking fireworks. What started out as an attack had evolved into a runaway by midday. Spanish ships can be found all over the world. Some go to the Netherlands, while others go to France. Many of them simply want to return home and put the incident behind them. The submarine tracks the largest group running north and occasionally launches a torpedo to let them know that the ocean now despises them. Spanish ships can be found all over the world. Some go to the Netherlands, while others go to France. Many of them simply want to return home and put the incident behind them. The submarine tracks the largest group running north and occasionally launches a torpedo to let them know that the ocean now despises them. The spirit of Spain crumbles. The Spanish Armada ceases to be a fighting force as the sun sets. 30 ships have reportedly been sunk, 20 more are pursuing them, and everyone else is fleeing for their lives. The tunnel is filled with barrels, wreckage, and soldiers who are either dead or very confused. Those Spanish who survive tell wild tales of invisible demons, explosions from below, and England's battle with the devil. To get what they want, the Inquisition may attempt to convert to Satanism. To put it briefly, they will never understand what happened to them. Spain never tries to invade England again because sailors simply won't enter English waters, not because they can't build more ships. The haunted channel thus becomes a perpetual mental wall. When he passes away, King Philip II is certain that the devil is collaborating with Protestant England and that God has abandoned Spain. Since the Armada was destroyed before England knew they were coming, it is odd that the Pope has issued numerous bulls condemning whatever evil weapon the English used. Without firing a shot, the British Empire gains 400 years of advantage in terms of dominating the waves, and England's naval reputation soars. After destroying the Spanish Navy, most likely with only a few torpedoes remaining, the Seawolf might be able to travel to Spain and introduce democracy to the empire. But that's a different time period. In our tale, a single submarine accomplished more in 8 hours than the entire 1600s did in a year. In addition to losing, the Spanish Armada was completely destroyed, leaving a legacy of PTSD. You might be wondering what would happen if a modern tank engaged in combat at Gettysburg after watching the film. Additionally, be sure to join and press the bell if you're curious about what would happen if a Navy SEAL engaged in combat in the Colosseum. I appreciate you viewing this.